In 2018, Donald Trump applied a total of $34 billion in tariffs over China's imports. In response, China answered with the imposition of the same amounts of tariffs. This ended up in a trade war. But what is exactly a trade war? A trade war is defined as the imposition of taxes and quotas in the imported product of one country, with the aim of protecting the local market. How did we get here? Along the 20th century, the US had dominated the world economically, but during the last decades, China has grown at an incredible rate, representing a threat for the American dominance. Also, the trade balance with China before the trade war started was negative for the US. The 17.3% of the total worth of US imports are from China, whereas US only exports a 4.8% to China of its total exports, approximate $100 billion. As we can see, the US has a trade deficit of more than $300 billion with China.
At the beginning of 2018, the US President Donald Trump announced his intention of imposing a 25% tariff on Chinese products. In response to this, China presented tariffs on US steel and aluminum. This trade war actually started in June of 2018, when both sides imposed tariffs to the other countries' products for value of $34 billion. In September of 2018, President Trump increased the Chinese products tariff on a 10% to $200 billion value of products. In response, China imposed a $60 billion over US goods. In May 2019, Trump increased the percentage to a 25%, meanwhile China decided not to change the imposed tariffs. Otherwise, in June 2019, China increased the percentage to 25% too. In total, the US has applied $550 billion on tariffs to Chinese products, while China has applied a total of $185 billion on tariffs to US products. And the war isn't over yet.
Actual effects of the war are hard to predict. For the time being, they have been felt in the Chinese copper sector, as well as in the American agricultural sector of soy. Other sectors, like Chinese smartphones, have also been damaged, remarking the case of Huawei. In addition, the artificial devaluation of the yuan made by the Chinese government has harmed American trade. On the global context, this war is producing an increasing uncertainty that threatens global growth. However, some countries are being particularly affected. The case of Mexico is a perfect example of how to benefit from the war. In the first quarter of 2019, this country increased its share in the US market in 1 point. This is because many companies which import products to the USA are moving their production from China to Mexico in order to avoid tariffs, such as GoPro. Brazil is benefiting from the war too, since China stopped buying agricultural products from the USA and instead started buying to them, especially soy, of which China is the largest consumer in the world. Finally, Vietnam increased exports by 34% to the USA, becoming its 7th importer. The tariff strategy of the USA affects mainly industrial products, and, in this context, Vietnam is perfectly placed to take advantage of the situation, as it has a relatively powerful and cheap industry. For this reason, multinationals such as Nike, Google, or IKEA have already transferred part of their production chain to Vietnam.
It can be put into perspective by taking into account a series of factors. First of all, both countries are interested in the other nation's economy. As we have seen, China sees a relevant market in the US, whereas Chinese market is also important to the United States, being its third largest export destination. However, other factors like the ownership of the debt of the US, 19% owned by China, can cause a global crisis if China decided to sell, but the outcome of this scenario wouldn't be so profitable for China. Another factor is that China has been making efforts to be able to manufacture goods it used to purchase from American companies by making them themselves following the so-called Made in China 2025 initiative. In conclusion, the end of this international conflict is hard to guess and will vary depending on the economic situation and the actions politicians make. By the moment, results are not hopeful. Last month, the International Monetary Fund estimated that the US trade war with China could cost the global economy around $700 billion, a loss equivalent to the size of Switzerland's entire economy.